Welcome to Planning Phase Syndicate, the Universe Extended Book of Boba Fett review of Episode 7 and all of the fun stuff that happened throughout the season. If you considered it fun, I don't know. You're going to find out in a minute, because we got some people with some mother effing opinions up in here. And this is our after show that we could just swear and say whatever we want as long as it's in decent context. Be prepared. There is spoilers galore. So if you have not watched the last episode of Boba Fett or Book of Boba Fett, do not watch this episode. This is literally your last warning. Joining me tonight with the Universe Extended Book of Boba Fett Episode 7 is JJ and the supreme Boba Fett lover himself, Mr. Charles Dill Pickle Dillman. How are you tonight, sir? That's my favorite nickname for you.
That's fine.
Dill Pickle. It's better than what I could come up with, I guess.
You're not the first, you're not going to be the last, man.
No. And I like dill pickles, and I like you. So, 2 win-wins.
Aw, you're too kind.
Win-win. All right. Again, the very last warning before we start this episode. This is spoiler. So if you're listening to this on the podcast and you're like, oh, hey, they're doing an extra cast. We're doing a effing spoiler cast, folks. All right. Done with the spoilers. Moving on. All right. Everybody gets 1 minute to give their take on the last episode. And I don't want to bring in the whole show. I just want to talk just the last episode at first, and then we can kind of branch into the last show. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to start with JJ, and then we'll move to Charles. And I want to know what you get 1 minute. What is your take on the last episode of the Book of the Book of Boba Fett?
So I'll go first. So this is a very, very Robert Rodriguez-esque type episode. For those who don't know or not familiar with his work, he's done a lot of movies or style of movies, particularly westerns. Probably the one that he's known the best for is like Desperado with Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek. And there are a lot of feels for it, especially like the action sequences that happened in this particular episode, which was in his wheelhouse that he did for this particular show. I did enjoy it a lot because I do enjoy his movies for there. There were some problems for some of the things in it, but they're honestly, it's kind of a build up from like other episodes that led into here. But beyond that, this is very, very entertaining. Definitely the best Boba filled episode that we've had for the series. They definitely did a lot of build up for this particular episode, and they did pay off a lot of it. Probably not to the best of what, the best quality, I would say overall for like plot lines and stuff, but it was still very enjoyable. I actually saw this probably 3 times because I enjoyed it that much, just seeing a lot of the different stuff that they introduced to here. And I think it was a solid episode for Boba.
Fair enough. Charles.
I was disappointed for some things.
Okay.
I was excited for other things. To piggyback on what JJ said, yes, absolutely. Tons of payoff for setups earlier. What I was disappointed with is there was all this talk about Cobb Vanth coming back. I didn't see him. That doesn't mean he's not going to come back. They didn't say he was dead, but they also didn't confirm that he was alive.
Yes, they did.
Yeah, they did.
They said, Boba said, I heard he was dead.
Did you not watch the after credit scene?
Yeah,
No.
you had to watch. Okay. So
all right,
we'll get to that.
we're going to spoil that for you.
Just pin that because we're going to come back to that because I have a few things about that. But anyway, yeah, go.
The other thing that I was kind of disappointed with, and I'm prepared to take it on the chin for this, I did not like the whole Rancor riding scene at all. Like they made it seem like, oh, the people of yore used to tame Rancor, and Boba's like, yeah, I'm gonna fucking do that. And then 3 episodes later, I am the master of the beast that has always killed people. Like the hell? You have like some innate animal ken, like would you roll a nat 20 on your animal ken check at fucking Star Wars D&D? Like what the hell? And then it's running loose. So we're gonna King Kong onto buildings and Mos Eisley. No, get the shit out of here. Like, I loved the whole Rancor against the droids thing. I loved that. I thought it was cool, but like, fucking hell, he had to ride him. Like, what the hell is going on? No, there were some disappointments in there for me. There was enough action, but for me, after all of the way it was set up, this kind of felt like Michael Bay directed it a little bit. Like, there was explosions everywhere. All we were missing was an Aerosmith theme song and a love story between Boba Fett and the Mandalorian, and we would have had like what was that stupid movie, Armageddon, all over again. It just there was a little moment. I was okay. I'm not mad at it. Right? I enjoyed the episode thoroughly, but there were some things where I was just like, fuck, really? But I did enjoy, I'm probably going over my minute, but I did enjoy, I read a news article over the weekend about George Lucas's thing for Grogu, like how he felt about Grogu and about how he wishes Grogu has the appropriate amount of training. And I like how they fit that into the storyline so that Grogu didn't have to have training from Luke. Because Grogu had already spent time at the Jedi Temple and had already had training. He just had to have his memories unlocked. So, like, I did enjoy that little nod, you know what I mean? To say, okay, well, Luke's not training him, but all he really needed to was, like, unlock the memory chastity belt in his brain, and now he has all of the Jedi training that he had before when he was in the temple. So hopefully we'll see that. Again, I hate that little green bastard. I really want somebody to run him over with a speeder bike accidentally or something and never look back. I'm all right with that. But
we know that's not going to happen.
No, and overall I was happy with the episode. Chris?
So I will tell you, for the Boba-centric style of the show that I have been horribly disappointed in, this was the best one, in my opinion. I agree with the Rancor sentiment. Like, yes, Boba somehow... That's where Boba was between 5 and 6.
Yeah.
Well, that's where Boba went. Boba's like,
he took
fuck
2
everybody
off to learn how to ride a Rancor. That works.
Yep. With Danny, you know...
Danny Trejo.
I get it. Like, Danny Trejo's amazing. I'm sad we didn't see him again. Like, at the very end, and this is what I was hoping for the whole time, just so you know. And the best part of this is we did that Wednesday, because we do Wednesday streams. I worked very hard all day. I came home and we had dinner, and my daughters weren't really paying attention to me, so I put the episode on. And I know I wasn't supposed to, but I did. And they're like, are we really going to watch this? And I was like, yep, this is the last episode, and I'm about to go stream, so I'm going to watch the hell out of this. And we're sitting there, and the whole time, all I want is at the very end, after all the Rancor stuff is done, is for Danny Trejo to come out clapping his hands and going, well done, son. Well done. That's all I wanted. If that had happened...
Have a Trejo's Tacos hat on or something for product placement.
There you go, even better. I would have recanted everything I said about the show just for that one. And I don't care how much of a sellout that makes me. I love Danny Trejo that much. I really like that actor. So, like, that's what I wanted. But I agree. The Rancor was ridiculous. Why did Boba Fett go back and get a fucking Rancor when he has a Slave 1? We all know what the Slave 1 can do. We all know the Slave 1's precise. And we know it could just fly and just shoot the fucking things in the middle of the road. We don't need a Rancor. We don't need I don't need that. Don't tie that story in. Go fuck yourselves. The Rancor would have been better off trying to eat him.
So there was a different way I would have done that. And I'm sorry, JJ, I'm going to step on you.
Yeah, go.
I hated, do you think you can make it to their headquarters before they completely destroy us? Yes, absolutely. Let me go. What?
Yeah.
I'm going to go save the biking gang and not even go to the headquarters.
Yep.
Then why set it up? Why make it seem like she's going to ride halfway across the city or get to Mos Eisley where the Pike Syndicate is at and stop this shit from happening? I can get there quick. 45 minutes later. Okay, well, I'm going to assassinate the people that don't matter anymore because we've already won. Why?
I agree.
It's so disjointed. Why?
Yep, it was. That was poor writing in what they were trying to convey. And I think the same thing is with the Rancor. That was poor writing, bringing that Rancor into it. It was a, hey, we referenced this earlier. We need to bring this back. Like, they just, I'm surprised the Hutts didn't appear. Where the fuck's
So-
the Hutts now?
A few counterpoints to that. One, the
my
reason
God.
why I'm glad that they didn't bring Slave One, not necessarily that I agree with the Rancor. There are definitely issues with the Rancor that I share with you guys, but the reason why Slave One it wouldn't be a good choice is, number one, the ray shields. Yes, they have the Slave One has good cannons, and he can pinpoint precision attack against those particular droids. But those shields are powerful enough to resist the cannons from a starfighter. Second,
But not a
point is-
Rancor and not a dark saber.
Well, because they're slow, right? The one thing that ray shields can stop is slower moving projectiles. Because you remember, because Shanton slowly put his hand through and was able to get through, and then the Scorpio Neck droid
And
reacted to it.
they did reference
and hit
that.
that.
They did say
Yeah.
that I can't move slow enough, like the blade won't move
Yeah.
slow enough to get through the shield. They did reference
All
it.
right.
Yeah, exactly. So for that reason, that's why the fire spray went into it. The other only other thing that it could have done is drop a seismic charge, but then you kill everybody, and that kind of
Yep.
defeats the whole purpose of it. So that part I understand. Fine. The
I'm happy
whole-
with everybody dying if the final scene of the episode is whang,
Yeah.
and then the city is leveled. I'm fine with that.
The whole Fennec part, why it took so long is because she basically had to travel like from New York to freaking like Orlando because they were in a completely different city.
But she didn't
where they
need
were
to.
doing it.
That's the
to
thing.
stop reinforcements from coming in, right? You cut off the head, they can no longer coordinate, they can't do it. So it's not directly reference for it, but
Look, you can only coordinate
yeah.
up to range 2. If she had to go that far away, like that's not a
There's no
thing.
coordinating.
I'm just gonna shut you down, JJ.
now what I wished happened is that instead of Fennec going to take out the head, I wish that Boba himself would have went, so that way he could have looked at the bastards who betrayed him in the eye and say, well, I guess we don't have a treaty anymore, and then freaking kills him. That's what I wanted to see. But
And that would have been better. And that's why she didn't need to go at all, because if they had stopped it early enough, he could just taken off in his, rocket ship and gone and moved on.
Going on that trip in his favorite rocket ship.
Exactly. So the other piece of the episode, again, going back to, it was nice to see normal people die. I still think the Pikes, at first the Pikes could hit people, and then all of a sudden they stopped being able to hit people. And I was like, because I was super excited. They're shooting Mando and Boba, and they got Mando armor on, right? So it's reflecting them. They're not getting hurt, but you could tell it's slowing them down. And then all of a sudden they can't hit anybody else. I was like, God damn it. I was so excited for once to actually see a real shootout where what really would happen. And then it just all changed and it was just all done. I was like, oh, all right. So we're back to the fantasy that nobody can shoot any of the good guys.
Wars.
What?
It went back to Star Wars.
Yeah.
it went back to Star Wars. Yeah.
Which is sad because, like you said, the Robert Rodriguez thing, I was extremely excited by that piece too, because I'm not a Western fan per se, but I like Westerns and I like spaghetti Westerns. I like the ideology of it. I don't like the older stuff because it's not violent enough for me. And a lot of times it's really sexist and I have a hard time with that. And sometimes it's even racist and I don't like that either. But the idea, the fantasy about that, the Western lifestyle just tickles my fancy more than anything else. Like my favorite book set is The Dark Tower by Stephen King, which is the majority of that is a Western style discussion, which is again hands down my favorite fucking series, even over Game of Thrones, over everything. I love that. I love The Dark Tower.
I gotta read that. Okay.
I really do. So for me, the Western thing is kind of hits home. And again, some of it's a little personal, right? Because my grandfather and my grandmother were very big, love Westerns. So for a long time, I would buy my grandfather, my mother, or grandmother for Christmas, a couple of Westerns. And they would then make me at least watch part of one of them every year. That was a tradition. Chris, you dumbass, you bought me great Westerns. You're not going to come watch them with me. And it's oh, this is very cringeworthy, but I kind of like Westerns too. I like that, aggressive standoffishness. I loved Cad Bane, hands down. I know a lot of people didn't like the animation style. I thought he fit the Clone Wars epic. I will tell you the biggest disappointment I have is that he's dead and Boba's alive. And I know everybody's going to be like,
I
whatever.
agree with you more. He's fucking gone. I'm all right with it.
I know, but you don't like the Clone Wars either. So, that there's a difference. And it's a Bad Batch thing too. He's a piece of these iconic things that if we're going to keep things alive, he's the one piece I want to keep alive to some extent. And
So
I feel he could play a bigger role throughout the series of things to some extent. And I don't like the shortchange story he got to kill him off.
I do agree that they should have kept him alive. However, the finality of his death kind of brings everything full circle because one, he was trained by Jango Fett. Two, he helped train Boba and also became a rival for Boba during his earlier days of him becoming a bounty hunter. Yep. So, and they kind of do reference that history of when they were like confronting each other, which if you haven't seen anything else from the Clone Wars or read any like of the other books, you know, that reference him and like stuff that he's done, it does bring that story like to its natural end, I feel, because at the end of it, you know, Cad Bane is there to present the mirror to Boba, to saying, you know, stop pretending for you trying to be this big crime lord or anything like that. You really are just a killer, and that's where you excel at. And to his credit, that's what that episode proved, that Boba's at his best when he's out fighting, killing people. And that is what actually makes him watchable. And that's part of the reason why this episode was so good, is because Boba did what he did best, which was gunfighting and shooting and fighting. That's what he's the best at. So
real quick, I'm going to interject just for a second. My daughter, because my daughters were watching this, my youngest was like, I wonder if he has knee rockets that kill people. I bet you he has knee rockets. And I'm dead serious. Like, and that scene hadn't happened. And all of a sudden he bends over and rockets shoot out. And my daughter slams her fist on the table and goes, I told you. I told you. I'm sitting here like, all right. I didn't know he had knee rockets, actually. I did not know that. That was something Chris did not know. Props to you, honey, for getting that right. Like, good on you.
So let's go to the photo documents here, so that way we can kind of go through this episode bit by bit here.
Real quick before we get into it, I just want to say screw Hasbro.
Why? What did they do?
They released a black Chrysanthemum figure that is literally just a Chewbacca figure painted black.
Yeah, that's bullshit. He looks different. He looks different.
It's like, I would make a racist comment, but let's just say that all Wookiees look the same is not applicable here.
I have to see it to comment on it, but yeah.
All right.
So the first photo here is the beginning scene here, where we see the aftermath of the bombing inside of the nightclub here. Is Max Rebo dead?
No.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think this explosion here. I don't know.
He lives no matter what. He's not Cad Bane.
He's gonna show up in Mando season 3 in another cantina.
Yep. And it's all because they could pay him a minimal amount to show up, and everybody goes, "Ooh, look who that is!"
Now, this is one of the things that kind of got me, right? Because, you know, they go in here and they're discussing strategy because they know that the Pikes are coming and stuff. And Boba's first instinct was, you know, let's go back to the palace to fortify it because it's a more fortifiable place. And then the rest of his, you know, cybernetic enhanced crew is like, no, you know, you can't leave the people. You know, you got to stay here. If you want to leave. We're going to stay here. And then he decides, okay, fine, I'm going to stay here and hold the fort down here. Not the most tactical choice here, because I mean, this is a bombed out shelter, and obviously every window and door here is broken open. I mean, what do you have to defend here?
Yeah, I agree, because like the people aren't sitting around here, right, JJ? Like they're not after the people; they're after Boba Fett. They actually have made zero reference to killing off any of the people at all throughout the whole season. There was no reference to this. Like, if they're going to kill off the people, there would have been more attacks on just generalized people. Like, we have none of that. So, his decision to do that and all these other things, like, yeah, it shows, A, not only should he never be daimyo, he is sure as fuck is a horrible leader and a horrible decision maker. He's better off just going and killing things. Because,
yeah.
And he could have evacuated people to the palace, too. Like, how big is the palace? We don't know, because we've never... But we saw Jabba's palace, which is pretty big. So, I mean, could they all fit there? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
I will say this. I will say one thing about this episode just real quick. A character who I had found utterly cringe, utterly annoying, and someone that I could not have cared less in the last 2 episodes really came into himself, and I really started enjoying his character overall, and like the sliminess of him was the Twi'lek like mayor assistant.
The mayor assistant,
Like,
yeah.
I really started to like him, like just as a generic character. Like when he sent him out to read that damn notepad, I'm like, that's the best damn thing ever. Like that was
fantastic.
100%. I loved his character by the end of the series. That was great.
That dude
he
read the whole thing too, even though he
Yeah.
knew what it said. That was even better.
Yeah, he deserved to live after that whole scene. That was freaking hilarious. That was great. Yeah,
I agree with you on that. I agree because I thought that character was a throwaway character, and then all of a sudden he shows up with Boba, and you're like, oh, like okay, he wasn't.
So the next
and now
one
we might get babies between him and Pelly. Who knows?
Oh fuck!
No,
Stop! No.
She's
only into Jawas.
She likes Jawas. That's
She's
how
only
this
into
goes.
Jawas, yeah.
So
All right, hold on.
And complimented the head tails. Just saying.
She did? Was there Jawas that were attacking everybody in this episode? Did you get a picture of that?
No, I didn't actually see that. I didn't catch that. No.
I think there was Jawas attacking people.
I'm gonna have to rewatch it.
All right.
No.
Because
Yeah.
I think that makes a big difference. If that happens.
I think it's a missed opportunity that the Jawas weren't at the end of the episode scavenging parts from the battle droids that got destroyed by the Rancor.
All right, well, there's
100%,
that too.
100% they took all that scrap and they're like, oh, well, we're going to put it in our sandcrawler. Yeah, 100%.
The one sandcrawler that exists.
Yeah. So the
Anyway,
next
go
thing
ahead.
that we have here is Cad Bane returning from his quote unquote mission to report over to the bosses here, the head of the Pikes and everything, and we get the big reveal that the Pikes had set up the biker gang that Boba, ruthlessly murdered to death for everything that's been going on, like for since the beginning of the show, right? So essentially, Boba got played by the Pikes the whole time, and they basically been keeping it a secret in order to, I guess, maintain him in check this whole time, for him not to proactively go against the Pikes here. Now, they specifically mentioned this, that they've kept this information from Boba for whatever reason. And then Cad Bane later on in the episode goes and tells Boba exactly that information for whatever reason. Now, my guess is that his intention was to get Boba riled up so that way he could go out and fight. But it's like, okay, like, what was the point of that particular plot point then? Like, what did they gain to not, like, to keep that secret from Boba?
I think in that particular situation, and you kind of called it out, I think the purpose was for him to goad Boba into a one-on-one combat situation where he was, just like at the end of the episode, supremely convinced that he was better than Boba in every single conceivable way. And so to prevent internal clan war and fighting for the daimyo, if he can take Boba Fett out one by one, it's the same mentality as Fennec going to the head of the Pike Syndicate, right? In that if you cut the head off the snake, everybody else scatters. Right now, Boba's family is a bunch of disjointed individuals that have been brought together under him. So you've got like the Power Rangers, you've got Black Chrysanthemum, you've got the New Hope City that was, with Cobb Vanth. You've got all these various factions that have been brought together under his leadership. If you take him out, Fennec leaves, Chrysanthemum leaves, there's a gigantic power vacuum that'll be filled by the Hutts, and life goes back to status quo with one death rather than having the all-out war. So my take on that was he was showing up to goad him to see if he could get that single-person combat, because it's kind of like the opening scene of Troy when they have the big guy versus Brad Pitt, because it'll save millions of lives by not having to fight. I think that was kind of what they were alluding to there, was that if Boba gave in, he would have killed Boba and stopped the entire episode from happening, which to Chris's effect might not have been a bad thing.
Nope. I actually agree with you on that quite a bit. I think that was 100% planned on purpose in that event. I don't think they wanted it to happen, but that seems, because if we look at other westerns and how they manifest, JJ, that's a theme throughout those.
Okay.
That's a big thing.
Excuse the terminology, but you have the Mexican standoff at high noon between the two main characters to save the city or to doom the city, and that's how that read to me.
Yep.
It gave Boba a little bit more character depth. Well, really, to be fair, it gave us an idea that Shand is really the puppet master behind everything here, because later in the episode you see the exact same scenario play out, only she's not there to cool his blood, and he gives in 100%. So really,
Yep.
underlyingly, that was a Fennec Shand character moment for her to show that she is the one that's really the brains running everything. It's just the Boba Fett name that's really carrying everything out.
Yep. And hence the end where Boba Fett steps down. That it makes sense. Like that. Again, what did I predict? That he's going to give it over to a certain individual. Can we spoil that yet for Charles? Are we allowed to spoil that for Charles?
I don't give a shit. I'm not going to go back and watch it. I don't care. You can say whatever you want.
The end scene has Cobb Vanth in the Bacta tank.
Oh, okay.
In his palace.
Yeah. And Chrysanthemum is magically healed.
Yeah,
so,
we don't know how, but he is.
Okay, well, no. Okay, so that explains, because that was going to be one of my complaint points, because I didn't watch it, but like he promised Chrysanthemum, I'll let you use the Bacta tank if we survive this, and then there's the scene where he's like, the Bacta tank is otherwise occupied, and then here's Chrysanthemum. Side point, sorry. Chrysanthemum could barely walk, and then 30 seconds later, he's like, "Yeah, fuckers, let's go! I'm gonna sprint through these town halls." Like 20 seconds ago, you got like hamstringed by a bunch of Trandoshans, and now we're like running the ass end of the Boston Marathon. Like the fuck is going? Like there's so
back
many
to Band-Aids, man. Back to Band-Aids. They work.
Back to Band-Aids.
All right, so let's go down to the next photo here. So we get through the opening credits, and then the first thing we see is a very, very familiar T-65 X-Wing come in and park over in Pelimato's garage area. And who do we see here? We see R2-D2 and Grogu here. Now,
and then somebody else you missed in this picture.
BD1.
Yeah.
So relating this back to X-Wing here. So now we have two pilots that can be added onto the T-65 for the Rebellion. We have a R2-D2 pilot that can now have a crew for a T-65 for the Rebellion, and then the other one that we've had for a while,
be like the R2-Y-Wing.
Yeah, exactly. And then of course the other person would have been Rey from Episode 9, who flew this particular thing with 3-4, obviously. I mean, we got the makings here for the next card pack.
Is it too late to remove JJ from the podcast?
Nope. 100%
hey, I'm only speaking the truth, man. I only speak the truth.
Yeah, get Rey and Rebels. Ooh. Or do we get a T-65 in Resistance with Rey?
Yeah, I would say T-65 in Resistance, yeah.
With only two pilots. So it'll be like the Rebel TIE Fighter. You only get two named pilots for the Resistance T-65.
Yeah. Ooh, buy a new ship and get two pilots.
Well, three, because you'd have decrepit Luke or something like that.
No, AMG just assumes that you have a T-65 from your core set that is required to buy before you play X-Wing, and now you have a Resistance spot to go with it.
All right, keep moving. Because you're disgusting me with everything you're saying here.
So the funniest thing here is that Grogu tells her his name is Grogu, and she's like, "What? That's your name? That is like the most horrible. That's a terrible name. I'm not going to call you that." The second she said that, I busted out laughing, and I'm like, "Damn it, Chris was right." That was fantastic, man. So one of the big questions here is: did R2-D2 take Grogu away without the consent of Luke, because R2 was in a big hurry to get the hell out of there?
No, I'm going to answer that. No. I think Grogu made a decision and Luke told R2D2 what to do. Because otherwise R2D2 all of a sudden becomes very sentient.
Well, okay, so here's the thing. So let's be real here, right? We'll talk Star Wars. R2D2 has not had a memory wipe since he was owned by Anakin freaking Skywalker.
Or before
so
that.
if we're talking about sentient droids, R2 is probably the prime candidate for like droid learning to be able to think for himself.
Yep.
Secondly, other than Ahsoka, R2 is the only person that got to hear how the Mandalorian actually felt about Grogu, right? Because Ahsoka left and she just gave the gift to Luke. So Luke didn't get to hear that conversation. So there is a very real possibility that like R2 heard how much Grogu or, the Mandalorian missed Grogu and wanted to be there for him and wanted Grogu to be there with him and everything. And it's just like, fuck it, kid, grab the shirt, we'll go. You know what I mean? And maybe he didn't tell Luke. So we don't know in that particular case, but I think it's a really decent idea to think that R2 is, and to be fair, I just got done watching the Clone Wars episode where R2 is kidnapped by the Transoceans to turn over to Grievous. Yeah. And they talk about how he's never had his memory wiped. And I'm like, if you think about it, 3PO's had his memory wiped more than any other bot on the planet, it seems. And R2's just like, nope, sorry, you're not flashy thinging me.
Yeah.
That's a good point. I guess I never thought about that. The infinite memory. And I could see your point, in fairness. Like, I could see your point to that. I have a harder time with him having the chainmail and then leaving and it being R2's decision. But
well, I mean, that part could be split, right? Grogu could have decided to take the chainmail in the heat of the moment, and then he goes to R2 trying to find a way out, and R2 says, okay, I'm going to help you out, but let's get this done quick because I don't want to get in trouble with Luke. So, because you remember, R2 was really, really adamant that he had to go, right? And we get this from his interaction with Peli, because Peli's like, I don't understand what's your hurry, just stay here for a little bit. And as soon as Grogu got out, R2 was gone. R2 was like, nope, see ya, and he left with the T-65. So, like, there has to be a reason why R2 was such in a rush to drop off Grogu and go back. So for that, I think he did it without Luke's consent.
And that's fair. That would easily wrap up, other ties we have. So,
and I mean, to be fair, it's not the first time that R2 has decided to do shit on his own.
He does it all the time.
Yep.
Watch Clone Wars.
I'm working on it, little by little.
So, so going down to the next photos that we have here. So we go through here. They're going through the whole plan about how they're going to set up a wide net to make sure that nobody gets by their get to pass their watch. They had the Gamorrean station over at the airport. Then they had the cybernetic kids, go throughout town to take a look at. Yeah, the Power Rangers, and then Chrysanthemum by himself for some reason, and another part of town. And they said that if they come, they're going to be able to see them. And then we scroll down to the next picture, and I guess they were terrible watchers because Cad Bane literally walked right through with 4 bodyguards. And nobody saw them coming, and we get this great exchange between Boba and Cad Bane, which was fantastic. Cad Bane, like, to me, again, I'm sad that his arc was very short, but he basically was asking the questions that every other viewer, every other fan of Star Wars was asking, like, what's your angle? What's your motivation to pursue this whole entire venture? Like, this whole thing that you're pursuing, right?
Like, what's your fucking problem?
Yeah, exactly. And I like that, right? Because it felt very meta, right? It felt like he was like representing the fans and asking, like, what's the whole point of you going through this? And then, of course, he tries to go Boba into like attacking him by telling him that the Tuskens were killed by it. To his point, this point here, this was really a really good point for Fennec here, because she helps him calm him down, to let him know, this is not the time, right?
This is not the way.
Yeah, this is not the way. She definitely went up in my book a lot because she still had that technical or that prowess, right? That mental fortitude to like try to calm him down to make sure that he didn't go buck wild when he was at a disadvantage here. So yeah.
No. I want to go back to Fennec, and I know, Charles, you haven't watched all the Clone Wars, but Fennec is part of that Clone Wars arc, right? And her character development in it and in Rebels is a lot more than you would think. And she shows up in Bad Batch now, right?
Yeah.
And so there's a piece of me that felt she was given a disservice in this show. And I get they gotta sell shit. So Boba Fett's the character, but kind of like you said, is like she's the one behind the scenes pulling the trigger. She's the one pulling the strings. It's very obvious in that scene, right? You know, that she understands Boba better than he understands himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be honest, I'm happy she didn't die. And I would tether to see like her having her own show, I guess. I don't know. And maybe Boba 2 is her and Colin, Vanth, right? Maybe it's just the two of them, and Boba's like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with the Mandalorian. See y'all later. You know, I do better at just killing people, and the Mando needs people to kill people, especially in Mandalore. Maybe Boba goes and redeems his father. God, that'd be crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So, so going to the next part here with the Power Rangers being surprised that all of a sudden the families turned on them and they killed a few of the Power Rangers, thankfully. And they go into this whole shootout. Chrysanthemum gets overrun by a bunch of Trandoshans. And
some dopey looking Trandoshans too. Can I just go out
they're
and
not
say
even
that?
Yeah,
like they don't even look badass. They just like the slow bunch of Trandoshans that couldn't cut it anywhere else and just decided, fuck it, we're gonna do this.
They're the shitty Jurassic Park Wookiees of Star Wars. There you go.
You're not wrong. Yo, can I just say that those Trandoshans kind of remind me of Goombas from the Mario Brothers?
Oh my god, yes, 100%. You're right. Yep. You nailed that fucker right on the head.
Yes, exactly. And then lastly, we see the Gamorreans get overtaken by, I forget what species, the Klatooinians, and they ended up falling off a giant cliff.
What were they guarding? What were they guarding that like 3 steps and we're up against the cliff? Like what's at the cliff that we sent the Gamorreans to guard? Like you can't talk, all you do is grunt, you just go stand over there, just out of the way over there with your vibro axe.
It was the spaceport, yeah. So then finally, we get to the part with the mayor. The mayor's assistant goes out. Probably the best part right before the fight there, where he goes out to give Boba's demands and tells him basically he's going to bury everybody and basically to set up the counterattack. And this, for me, was the best part of the show. The next picture down is when, you have both Mando and Boba going out on full attack. They're both using their jetpacks. They're using every single weapon in their arsenal to take down the Pikes. This is what the series should have been throughout, the whole time, right? Just showing how good Boba is at being what he does, right? A killer, right? And this was the most captivating part of the entire series that included Boba, that you really felt drawn to the character because of his fighting prowess, right? You saw everything in his arsenal. You saw the knee rockets. You saw him use his blasters. You see him use his armor to good effect to help him protect against the onslaught. Him working in conjunction with Mando to try to get to basically fight off a small platoon of different Pike soldiers. And just holding him off against this thing. And then finally, there was a particular scene where I laughed pretty hard because, and it's the next photo down, is that there's this guy in the roof that shoots at them. I literally counted it. They took 12 shots at this one guy. They F this guy in particular. It was the funniest scene to me just because of that, because they one-shot everybody else, but they both take the time to stop whatever the hell they're doing and just shoot this guy a lot of times in the sequence as he's falling down.
So I'm gonna point something out here that I think, and this was a major pain point for me.
Okay.
I think there was a missed opportunity for a piece of lore development in this scene
Okay.
that had been pre-set up in the Book of Boba Fett as a series, and has actually even been kind of a topic of conversation. Anytime Mando has used the Darksaber, he's fought against it. And there's been multiple things about you're fighting against the blade, you're not having a single purpose, you're split mind, like that's why the blade is fighting you. Like there's all of these little like breadcrumbs dropped. And this is the first scene that he's been a part of in the Book of Boba Fett where he is 100% sold and committed and willing to give his life to protect Boba Fett. And in the scene where he is 100% focused, he does fuck all with the Darksaber because he can't get it through the shield or whatever. But there could have been even just a maybe a line or two of like realization of the focus that I have, and now the blade is working with me. Right? Just some nod to the fact that when you're focused on the task at hand, the blade becomes insanely easy to wield. And give him that realization. It still takes training to open your mind and to give yourself to the Force, you know, to be able to use the lightsaber or the Darksaber in this case. But I just really think it was a missed opportunity to give that little bit of development to the lore of the sword.
I kind of disagree a little bit because I think in the heat of the moment when he was using it, you know, obviously he was fighting for his life at that point, right? Because, you know, you got this giant scorpion neck droid that can, you know, wreck you even with Beskar. I think that it might come to play later on in Mando season 3, you know, when he uses it again and he realizes, oh, hey, you know, I realized that I had an easier time using this. But I don't.
Maybe we'll get another flashback scene.
Of course, it's mandatory. So I think that if they would have done that, I mean, without using facial expressions, that's kind of hard to really convey. You know, that you had that aha moment without slowing down the action of what was going on at that particular moment. But I don't know. I mean, maybe.
I think it's easy. You pull the Darksaber out, you realize it, you use it, and you realize, oh, it didn't not do what I wanted it to do. Okay, here you go. I can look at it and go, shake my head, and then go attack. I agree with Charles in this.
Takes a swing at the blade, and it doesn't even have to have words. Takes a swing at the blade, and it goes like maybe through, because obviously the shield is there, right? So that's still a thing. But like he swings it, and he's expecting it to fight against him, and goes through like a wall with it or something unexpected. He looks down at the blade, tilts his head to the side, and then goes right back to doing what he's doing. You don't even need a line, but just that physical motion of expecting it to fight against him, but because he is so driven forward that it just goes along for the ride, and he's expecting it to be heavy and weigh heavy. And even it could have even been a moment where like he goes to swing it and he's so amped that he's going to have to swing this big heavy thing that he overswings and like throws it away. You know what I mean? For a second, and has to go retrieve it. Some nod to the fact that he's starting to attune to the blade a little bit. Because we're supposed to believe that he wants the Way of Mandalore so bad that he's going to go to this fountain that's buried under the city. And they're dropping they're dropping all these breadcrumbs about him leading everybody back to the Way of the Mandalore. It takes 2 seconds for him to look at the blade and look back up, or for him to chuck the handle because it all of a sudden weighs a lot less than what he thought it was going to because he's not fighting against it anymore. Something small. I don't need a big realization, but we're all about planting seeds. This entire series has been planting seeds with minimal payoff until the final episode. Why plant those seeds and not give some sort of nod to the fact that he's getting easier?
Yep. Hey, and JJ.
Fair.
In what show did the Darksaber show up and was wielded by an individual, and all of a sudden they realized it was easier to wield than they thought it was?
Rebels.
Okay. So I'm just saying, like,
I was going to say, I assume it was Sabine, right?
Yeah. It's a precedent that's already there. Like, Charles hasn't even watched that shit, and he's picked up on it. That's
true. You got a point. Yeah.
Big missed opportunity.
Yeah.
All right. I don't know.
So going to the actual Scorpionet droids, as far as I know, this is the first time they've ever introduced a droid like this, right?
Yes. By that name.
Like the Rolly droids. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, by this specific name, this is the only one they have. And because I actually thought it was those Rolly droids until they put a different name on it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that's fucking okay. Because again, if we go back to goddamn Clone Wars, you know how they defeat them? They're pretty easy to defeat if you know how to do it. They have a whole fucking Ahsoka fucking arc where she rolls bombs and is like, this is how you do it. And this whole time I'm sitting here yelling at the TV going, Ahsoka already figured this out. Ahsoka already figured this out. She's in the show. Why the fuck is it? God damn it! Why do we not get this? Like, this is a very easy droid to defeat.
It's not part of their arsenal. They don't have any thermal dents on them.
Oh, okay, well, we all know that that's probably bullshit.
We have knee lasers, but we don't have a hand grenade.
Thank you. Yep.
Yeah. Because he's gonna bring him cold or he's gonna bring him warm. He's not gonna bring him in blown up. That's why.
Doesn't mean the rest of them don't. JJ. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist on that fucking planet.
A bunch of farmers in the desert are going to have a random arsenal of thermal.
They had a militarized hover car with like a 50 cal laser rifle on it. So there's no grenades in the armored car?
From where? From who? It's not Empire.
Come on.
The Empire never took that.
Who'd they steal it from?
From the Pikes.
And the Pikes didn't have thermal detonator. Oh, I'm pretty sure in Clone Wars they did.
No, JJ, they did not. I would JJ, like for you to review that.
Sent two random people into a bar with a thing full of explosives to destroy the bar. You're gonna tell me there's no explosives in their armored car? Come on, man.
Okay, remember the armored car that they get was probably from the Pike Scouts.
I feel like you're gaslighting us. You're gaslighting me and Charles right here.
He's taking that hard edge on a nonsensical point just to see how far into insanity he can push us.
Yeah, no, I'm done and over.
Giants fan.
Go.
All right. Go. The reason they changed the name of them, JJ, is so that you couldn't come, so that people like me couldn't come back and go, just throw a thermal detonator underneath the thing, and that's how you kill it. It's literally, in my opinion, that is exactly why they renamed these things to Scorpion bullshit. So that
it's for marketing purposes.
Well, that probably too, because in Legion, can you imagine getting one of these in Legion now? Like if I played Legion, I want that.
Yeah. So,
I said that on their stream today too. When the fuck am I getting one of these Scorpion droids? They did not respond to me.
Yeah, I can't wait to see those in freaking Legion. So, these are these badass droids that have like these giant ass cannons. I took a screenshot of this particular thing because this is literally the first shot that they take into an obviously wide area of fleeing people, and look where that first shot lands.
All right.
My God, put a freaking targeting computer on these things.
Built-in Stormtrooper targeting, man.
Yeah.
They didn't pay for the upgrade package. This is the base model.
Yeah, and then of course, your scene that you never got, Mando realizing that he can wield the blade. So they go through that whole point. Pelimano rolls in with Grogu. We get a very going to the next picture here, a really nice moment here, a respite of Mando appreciating Grogu coming in and sees that he's actually wearing the damn chainmail. Can
I stop you for a second?
He's got Frodo's shirt on.
Can I stop you for 1 second? As much as you don't like Grogu, and as much as I hate that name, like I despise that from the depths of hell, I will tell you this is one of the most touching scenes in this episode. And this is maybe me just drinking and being sentimental, which is what happens sometimes. I'm not that much of a hard ass, but to me, this was a humanizing event, and this is where I feel they missed the whole thing in Boba Fett, right? Boba doesn't get this moment, and Boba deserves that moment. I think if we're gonna humanize him, and this is why Mando works to some extent very well, is because of this type of thing. And I'm gonna cry, but this, to me, this is one of the best pieces of this whole episode. And I don't want to make a big thing about it because it's not technically the Mandalorian 2.5, right? This is ridiculous that we have this, and Boba deserves his own show, but we have it, and this piece right here is very touching and sentimental, and this puts me into the saying I want to watch Mandalorian 3 more than ever now. Even if it turns out like the Book of Boba Fett. And Charles has every right to roast me 100% if that happens. You can roast the fuck out of me. It'll be the opposite sides of the table. It'll be like, I love this show. And Charles like, you understand the writing's really fucking horrible. And I'll be like, yeah, I still love it. And then it'll be a whole argument. But that's okay. Like, it's okay. We like what we like. So.
Yeah, and I think that they kind of intentionally did this to contrast Boba, because Boba doesn't have anybody that he can have this kind of moment with. You know, the closest thing that we have to like a humanizing moment for Boba was his freaking
the Tusken Raider arc.
The Tusken Raider arc, which, you know, he was originally a slave, and then, you know, he gained the respect, and then they all got killed right within like the first 3 episodes, and then Boba has nobody other than the closest person that he has is Fennec, right? And she's just like a business associate, right? So Boba doesn't have that connection to somebody that he could build on like Mando does. So I think that including this in the particular series kind of works against Boba a lot more, because you feel a lot more for Mando and his relationship with Grogu that we've seen on screen, versus Boba, who has nobody really. You know, all he has is just his hired guns that he has with him, and it doesn't make him a very relatable character for that reason, I think. So,
all right.
So, scrolling down here, we finally get the Clash of the Titans montage here with the Rancor coming in. Apparently, all it takes is just the right flick of the wrist for you to control a Rancor to come in and start wrecking stuff. My favorite part is when he actually goes in and starts to kill the Scorpionet droid. He does his best Palp impression and says, "Do it," and makes the Rancor kill the damn Scorpionet droid. Then we get to the whole face off here between Cad Bane and the Rancor and Boba, and he basically scares him off with fire, which is great. That was a badass moment for Cad Bane, just staring down this giant as Rancor that just wrecked the damn Scorpionet droid, and he scares it away with fire. We finally get that duel between Cad and Boba. Unfortunately, he loses that. And then the whole King Khan moment there, I did not like that particular sequence, because I felt like they didn't need to go that route with the Rancor. It had a really nice badass moment until that point. You know, I liked seeing the fight between the Rancor and the Scorpionet droid. I think they just set that up solely just so they could see how much stronger Grogu has gotten since his training with Luke Skywalker. He's used the Force a total of 3 times now without him like passing out, and then finally he falls asleep like he normally does after using the Force. So that shows how much of growth that Grogu has gone through since his time with Luke, and that's interesting to see how fast he's developed that. Definitely a really strong point for Mando season 3.
Yeah, we'll put it this way. It was pretty cute that he slept next to the Rancor. Sorry. Like,
yeah, it was.
I held out silent hope that the Rancor would make a snack out of him, but
no.
The Beskar would have saved him. The Beskar would have saved him, man. Except his head. But yeah. And then finally, the last part, you know, we get the final resolution. Fennec brutally murders all the people, you know, the mayor, all the heads of the crime families that sided with him, and the Pikes. Mando leaves with Grogu off world. That was another cute moment where Grogu's like tapping on the glass, and he makes him, you know, do his slam and makes him go fast. That was pretty cool. And Chrysanthemum stays with Boba, and then finally we get the Boba Fett benefit package for Cobb Vanth.
The Boba Fett benefits package.
Yes, you get free unwillful surgery, cybernetic enhancements on you if you stay under the employ of Boba Fett, and that's exactly.
I was gonna say he gave that to Fennec Shand as well. So
yeah, I mean, exactly.
It's becoming a thing now.
Yes, yeah, exactly. That's why it's called a benefits package. Do you think we see a season 2 for Boba Fett?
I think so.
I agree. Yep.
Or maybe not. Maybe this is the end of the Book of Boba Fett, but maybe we get the Cobb Vanth show.
Or the Fennec Shade show?
Yeah, I would much rather see a Fennec show than Cobb.
Well,
No,
All right,
I
hold
disagree
on,
wholeheartedly because Timothy Oliphant's amazing, and I'll
Yep.
watch
Yeah,
whatever.
you're-
I
he
understand
says.
that. No,
Forget
I'm not.
that.
No, don't get me wrong. I'm not discounting him at all. I think he's a fantastic actor, and his character is fantastic. I'm not discounting that at all. However, we have a lot more story built into Fennec across the Clone Wars series and everything that's been done already.
Which is
by
why
Dave
Disney
Filoni.
will do the Cobb Vanth, because they've seen the failure of a character that was pre-existing that they couldn't build from the ground up. Boba Fett has been heavily criticized in comparison to The Mandalorian, which was heavily praised. So we've got a character that overwhelmingly doesn't have a lot of lore for people to get pissed about ruining. They'll give Cobb Vanth a show before they give Fennec Shand a
Okay.
show.
That's
Just
actually
my personal opinion.
I agree with you. Actually, that's a very good point, Charles. So
And that's not to say that I don't want a Fennec Shand show. Don't get me wrong. I would definitely watch that. I'm just saying, like, in general, there's more marketability for Timothy Oliphant's character because of what he has the capability to do. And he's already set himself up as a leader where, by and large, Fennec Shand has shown herself to be a hired hand, just like Boba. So if we did a Fennec Shand show, we're just going to get Boba with a female lead.
But a successful one, because I think that she has a better capability of being a crime boss than Boba does. Because Boba kind of feels
they're not going to go to a crime boss. That's what I don't think.
They're gonna send her off world, and we're gonna get
Yeah.
a episodic like Firefly type thing where she's going on missions and
Yeah.
doing the thing with Boba Fett is what would happen.
Yeah. The problem here, JJ, is the fact that they tried to set up this whole crime lord thing, and they wanted to do this, and it failed, right? And I think somehow they must have known this was going to fail, I guess, because we got an ending episode where Boba Fett goes, "Yeah, this is not for me. I don't know what the fuck to do, but this is not for me." And here you go, Cobb Vanth. You can have the city. Oh, I liberated it for you and set it up because I'm the fucking goddamn white savior of this bullshit.
I'm the Rancor whisperer.
Yeah, and that's the disgusting part of this because Boba Fett has such a better tale to tell. And he has such a better redemption story than this. This is a shit redemption story. And when we talk about what pisses me off the most about that, that's what pisses me off the most, is that Boba Fett deserves better than this. And I think we're going to get better Boba Fett content. I think that they just try to use this vehicle to push the popular show, and it's sad. It's a sad tale that we even had to even tell. I don't need, like, this is a Grogu and Mandalorian reunion story. That's what the fuck this is. You literally had 7 episodes of reunion with a little bit of Boba Fett backstory. And that's what they case this as. And to me, it's a disservice to Boba Fett, right? And some of that's because I'm a fanboy of Boba Fett. I love Boba Fett. I love Mandalorians. I love the whole scum piece. I love the whole bounty hunter piece to such an extreme extent that, you know, like, I have a really hard time not like having this type of show. But the problem is that they use this as a vehicle, and it's a disservice, in my opinion. And what I hope is they correct that and give Boba better pieces in other stories if we can't give him his own show.
I would love to see a Fennec Boba, like, this is going to sound bad, but like a buddy cop type thing where, like, we actually get to watch them bounty hunt rather than they get a puck. They know exactly where to go to find the person who has this puck. They retrieve the person, bring them back, and cash in the puck. That's all we know about bounty hunting thus far, right? If we even look at the episode where the Mando appears in Boba Fett, he appears because he found a guy that doesn't claim to be the guy who's on the puck. But we don't know from point A to point B where the research is, where the hunting is, where the gathering of information is. I think it's an interesting take on the Star Wars universe to be able to see a lot more worlds, to be able to see a lot more cultures, like with the Mon Calamari and the Twi'leks and all of these other worlds that we've never been to. I think it opens up a very Star Trek-y version of Star Wars in the exploration of these worlds and a deeper dive into what bounty hunting is.
And I agree with you. And I think that would be the best piece because it would allow Star Wars to expound on bounty hunting without having to commit in such extreme tenses to one side or the other. And then it allows the piece of bounty hunting that the Mandalorian's losing. Honestly, we have to admit, it's gone. It's done. It's not there.
It was
and
stopped when Grogu became the storyline.
Yep, it passes it on. And I think you're right. And I will, if we have a Book of Boba Fett 2, I will wholeheartedly endorse that piece of it until the end of days. All right. We're at 11 o'clock. So we've been casting for 3 hours. You all have 30 seconds. Last thoughts, last opinions. And go. Charles first.
Give me my Scum N1. That's all I got to say.
All right. JJ.
This is the best Boba Fett show we've ever had. Also, the only Boba Fett show we've ever had.
All right.
Fair enough.
I'm excited for Mandalorian 3. I'm excited for new N1. I agree with Charles, actually, because I collect Scum and would be happily to take an N1 that has... Oh, damn it. All right, Charles. We forgot this last episode. By next week, you owe us what a Mandalorian Scum N1 will do. That's what you owe us. You owe us what's my dial going to be, what's my techniques, what's my verbiage in the bullshit cards. You owe me. Good. I want you to create me an N1 for Scum.
Sure. I'm in.
All right. Because I forgot to push you to do that for the end of the last episode.
Nah, you're good, man. We're good.
But that'll be the beginning of the motherfucker. I don't care if we get points. You get spotlight with your amazing beard and all, which is actually, your beard's almost bigger than mine, I think. Actually,
I straighten mine, so mine has a lot more length. If I don't straighten it, it's very...
Well, and
look at JJ. He can pull out his chin. I'm so proud of him.
I know. JJ, you got like... You got one more year, man. One more year, bro.
Nah, you know what's going to happen? Like, we're going to come in 1 week, and JJ's going to look like...
a toddler.
Master My Pay from Kill Bill.
Kill Bill.
The wispy mustache and the super just...
Oh, man.
All right.
I love that.
So...
Anyway,
these extended episodes, these universe extended episodes have been amazing. We will continue to do them. Next week, we will be taking a week off from the universe extended because I'm going to Crossroads, blah, 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 whatever. Me and JJ and Charles will talk about what we're going to do for the next ones. Unfortunately, Charles never reads the books, so I don't know how we're going to do these. And maybe Charles just joins in. I don't know how we're going to do it. We will continue this universe extended at least twice a month, though. Because I enjoy this actually quite a bit. I like talking Star Wars lore. It makes me feel very satisfied.
I'm good with old school lore. I can talk about all the old school stuff. It's just the new stuff I have trouble with. So,
yeah. Maybe Charles will finish Clone Wars in the next 2 weeks, and we can talk about that.
Hey, yeah.
Challenge for Charles. Maybe I'll buy Charles a Mando ship if he can finish Clone Wars in 2 weeks. There you go.
Done.
All right.
All right. Have a good night, guys.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We'll be back next week-ish for our podcast. Have a good night.